What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over some tips to hopefully help you win fights on island more often in Season 4. I recently talked on my Mythic Prize Llama video about how if you want to get more kills, fighting island and controlling island can be an easy way for you to get that traffic you need. So in this video, I'm just going to be going over how to fight on the island, some things you want to avoid, and just some tips for island in general. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like to see more, and comment down below what you think of Loot Island. Do you enjoy going there? Do you hate going there? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm sure many of you know at this point that controlling the house on this island is huge because this will allow you to shoot at players in the sky before they land on you. And also, whenever players go up on the zip line, it can be super easy to just like pre-aim the top of the zip line and get a lot of damage on them as they come up. If you have visualized sound effects on in the audio tab, this makes it much easier to know which zipline people are using when you are on top of the house. So like I said, I'm sure a lot of you already know that because Loot Island has been in the game for a long time. And another reason why controlling the island and just the house in general can be so advantageous is it makes it very easy to shoot down on players that are on the ground from the roof of the house. And this is the main reason why I want to control island in Season 4, because the twin mag AR is so ridiculous. If you are on the ground trying to travel the map and you kind of have to pass through island and somebody's just on there beaming you with the twin mag AR, it's going to be very hard for you to do anything. Whereas like if you're the one on island beaming people, you're going to get a bunch of easy kills, and also you're not going to have to worry about being the person on the ground there. So that's the main reason why I want to go island. I would fight island pretty much every game in Season 2 because the overclocked pulse rifle was insane. Didn't really go there last season, and then I kind of started going there again this season just because of how ridiculous the twin mag AR is from those like high vantage points. I don't even care that much about like capturing the flag and getting the loot because what you get is a mythic infiltrator shotgun, and I don't really care for that. The slurps are nice, obviously, if you need more slurps, but I usually don't even capture the flag. I just get it somewhat close to being captured if I'm not fighting. But maintaining control of the island is more important to me than capturing the flag. But I do like to kind of get some progress on it when I can and get it like close to being able to be capped. That way, if anyone does rift and then land on the island, I can just quickly capture the flag and then get a radar ping of the island. And this ping will actually hit people on the ground as well. So if I end up not using it to find somebody on island, if they go down into the bottom part and hide, you can also just cap it before you leave, get the extra slurps, and get that radar ping of the area around you before you kind of go down and find a rift, or take a launch pad and rotate to zone. So getting to island early and controlling it first makes your life a lot easier when fighting around the island. And the easiest way to know where island is going to be is to get a radio tower, because the radio towers allow you to see one zone in advance, and the island spawns in 4th zone. So if you have a radio tower, you'll be able to see in 3rd zone where 4th zone is going to be, and then kind of put yourself next to a lot of the like island spawns in that potential zone, or just go center zone. That'll make it very easy for you to get where you need to get when island does end up spawning, or if there's any sort of natural mobility in 4th zone like launch pads in the area, that could also make it easier for you to get to island. But getting a radio tower, knowing where 4th zone is going to be, and then putting yourself, pretty much center 4th zone will make it very easy for you to get to island before it spawns, and then potentially be the first one on top of that house. And that's going to make your life a lot easier when it comes down to fighting on island. When someone already controls the island, though, this is where it gets kind of tough, because there's only 2 ways up. You can either take a zipline up or rift, and both can be fine, but both can be very dangerous. Because like I talked about at the start, if you're on house and you know which zipline somebody is coming up, you can just, potentially fry them before they even touch the ground after zipping up. But also if someone rifts, you can shoot them out of the sky as well. So like the players trying to retake island have a much harder time than the person controlling island, I think. If I hear players actively fighting on the island when I'm underneath, I would definitely prefer to rift. That way we can kind of get some visibility of what's going on island, and then, dive down accordingly. Maybe just like get on it if it looks like they're heavy fighting, or just go for the top or something. But I also don't mind taking the zip as much as other people, I feel like, because as soon as you get up, you'll be able to use your items. And this is huge because shockwaves are in the game. If you go up with the zip with your shockwaves out, you can just immediately shockwave yourself as soon as you take the zip line and like you're on island, and then you could potentially land on the roof and start fighting the person on there, or you could throw another shockwave onto the roof of the house while you're in the sky and shockwave the other person off of the house. And that's one of the, easiest ways to just take control of the island now. That wasn't really available in season 2 because we had the katanas in the game. But with shockwaves or the shockwave launcher, you can just shockwave people off island, and then now you have control and they have to retake. This can also be really, really helpful in team game modes because you might split the duo up. If there's a duo on island, you come up, shock one off, and now it's a 2v1 on island between you and your teammates while the other guy that you shocked off has to get back up. That can be a much easier way to win that fight because you have 2v1s rather than a 1v1 or whatever, the game mode is. If you kind of knock some people out of the fight with shockwaves, it will make your life easier. And that's one thing I definitely want to do if I think the other player has the exotic Maven, is to just try to shockwave them off of island and then play to get beams on them when they either rift or take a zipline up. Another thing that people will try to do is hit you with the ice wall to knock you off of island, and this you can also do this when you shockwave. You could shockwave yourself up and then take your ice wall out, activate it, and then if you put that on the roof when somebody's on the roof, oftentimes you're just going to knock them off of island and they might die to fall damage. You can avoid this though if this is happening to you by having your own ice wall, because when you have the ice wall and you deploy it, you're immune to fall damage. So you could jump off of any structure in the game, take out your ice wall, hit the activation button, and then you're chilling. And this will also work if you're on island and somebody hits you with the rocket ram to knock you off. You can just pull out your ice wall, activate it, and then you're immune to fall damage. And the ice wall is very good not only for knocking people off, but also for avoiding that fall damage yourself. So if you're probably going to want to carry that pretty much at all times at this point in zero build, but I especially think on island fights. The way most players are going to get onto the roof, though, is just going to be by mantling this smaller roof and then going straight up, which can be nice. It works. But also, this little second or this little step of the roof is a really good spot to hit low ground pump shots. If you kind of position your character hugging the wall in front of you and then you just jump up and try to pump the person that's on the house, the person that's on roof is going to have a much harder time hitting you than you're going to have hitting them. A lot of players just think of high ground as constantly favored, but when you have this sort of angle, they're only going to see a little bit of your head when you jump, whereas you're going to see all of them. And it's one of those peaks where, since it's a jumping shot, you're coming up and then you're immediately going down. They have a very short time span to react to you. So the low ground shots from this little side roof can be nice, and it's something that I will go for sometimes, even if I have roof control and a player's rifting on me. Let's say someone's rifting, I maybe tag them for 60, 70 shield when they're in the sky, and then they're going to land on me. I could just drop down to the side roof, hit a low ground pump. That's even more damage, and then maybe we just push it from there. And when you are on this little secondary roof, you can sprint jump to either side and mantle the roof rather than just mantling up the middle, and that can potentially catch some players off guard. I really just want to avoid fighting people that have the exotic Maven on roof as much as possible. That's one of the reasons why I avoided it last season with the drum shotty in the game. Just, if you're on roof and the opponent is on roof and you're just trading shots, those fights really, really favor the spammy shotgun. So if I don't have an exotic Maven, I try to just shockwave people off or potentially go for these low ground shots like I was talking about before. But if you're just standing there trading damage with an exotic Maven, it's probably not going to go well for you. You can drop into the bottom part of the house and then play for right shoulder peaks in there, because you will actually have several. If you're in-house, each corner you go around will probably be a right shoulder peak for you versus the person chasing you, and this will make it to where you can just constantly back up into right shoulder peaks. And if you are using one of the slower fire rate shotguns like the sharp tooth or the charge shotgun, this will be one of the few ways you can potentially deal with those spammy shotguns on island. And or if you took damage and you have to back up versus somebody who's rifting on you, whatever. And if there's multiple people fighting, it's easier to know this in solos, but if you hear multiple people rift at once or somebody rift while somebody else is also ziplining, it oftentimes is going to be better just to drop down into the bottom part of the house and then let them fight, because most players are just going to go for the top of the house immediately, and then you can third party it. Whereas if you just stay on the house when they're both coming at you, you're just going to get dogpiled on, Like I said, most players, when they come to island, their mindset is, I'm going for the top of that house no matter what. So if you have multiple people pushing you at once, it might be better just to drop into the bottom part of the house, let them fight it out, and then third party it. And that's why I was saying this would be easier to do in solos, or at least easier to know in solos, because if you hear multiple people rifting or multiple people zipping up in team game modes, you won't really know if it is multiple teams. But either way, don't feel like you have to control house the entire time. You can kind of give it up and retake it using the shockwaves like I talked about, using the ice wall like I talked about, or potentially using that low ground pump, like little secondary roof thing. I think catches a lot of players off guard, especially zero build players, because like the low ground pumps are something that if someone plays build mode a lot and has for several years, they're probably very familiar with how to play these low ground angles, but a lot of zero build players aren't as used to that. So if you get used to playing the low ground angles with the pump at like the from that secondary roof, or dipping into the house and playing right shoulder peak, can be very easy for you to deal with people who like think they have the upper hand in the fight. And then the final thing I want to talk about is that whenever I've talked about like controlling island, I always have players tell me that they just don't want to go for it and they want to avoid it because that's where the better players go, which is true to an extent, but it also makes closing out the game much easier if you are able to eliminate those players on island. If you have players in your lobby that are much better than you, I feel like it's probably going to be easier for you to eliminate them on island when, maybe you catch them coming up a zip line, maybe they rift and then you beam them, than it is end game. And then also, if that player is just going to beat you 100% of the time no matter what, you might as well get it out of the way earlier. At least that's how I look at it. And typically, I feel like with the nature of the game right now, with, the scripted encounters to an extent, with like the radio towers, the combat caches, and island, a lot of the times, if I go for those things, I eliminate the better players earlier on in the lobby. Like I'll play a match and it's like the harder fights I had were like at the radio tower and at island, and it makes playing end game a lot easier. So I feel like if you are someone who gets nervous end game, getting those better players out of the lobby makes your life a lot easier, I think. But that is going to be it. And it also makes it more forgiving too, because if an island fight isn't going your way, you can give it up and potentially heal. That's one of the nice things about island right now, is you can just give it up. In season 2, it felt like you really want to capture the point to get that pulse rifle, but as of now, I really just care about controlling island just for the vantage point and eliminating other players that are going to go onto it. So if fights aren't going your way, you can just leave and heal and then potentially get those people on the way out. But that is going to be it for today's video. As always, if you guys found this helpful, informative, interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you like some more, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.